the man looked like. You just told me the man looked creepy. And
you said the man looked creepy?
Creepy white.
Okay.
Excuse my language, cracker.
Okay, and what did you say? Okay, they're having trouble hearing you, so take your time.
Creepy ass cracker. And then he said, still following me now. That is still following me now.
That he's still following him?
Yes.
Okay, did he use a word to describe that?
Let's go slowly.
And now that still following me.
Okay. Pardon my language, but did he say the word, pardon my language, did he use the word to describe the man now?
Yes.
Kelly's court is back in session. We're going to take up the Zimmerman case so far now with our panel. Faith Jenkins is a former prosecutor. Jonna Spilbor is a former prosecutor, now defense attorney. And Faith, let me start with you on now. That was the state's star witness.
Right.
How'd she do? Where do we stand?
That testimony is probably the biggest coup for the defense, because now they're going to come in and they're going to argue, well, look at Trayvon Martin's state of mind. He had some kind of ill will, because remember, they're saying this is self-defense, that Trayvon initiated this attack. However, I think when you start crediting this witness's testimony, she's not the greatest witness in the world. She's a flawed witness in many ways, but she comes across as being brutally honest. The state's going to argue she didn't censor that conversation that she had with Trayvon in order to try to paint him in a better light. She simply came in and told it like it was. This is what he said. Why did he say that? Because he was being followed. So if you start crediting her testimony as the defense, you can't then just cherry pick and say, look at what Trayvon said, but disregard everything else she's testified about.
Jonna?
I don't think she came across as brutally honest. I think she comes across as brutally ignorant, and I think she's going to aggravate the jury. If she keeps up with this, I don't know what happened last night after she got off the stand and came back this morning, but her whole affect with this, yes, sir, and the jury having to kind of lean in to hear if she said anything other than yes, sir, all morning. I don't think that she did. She's going to aggravate the jury, and every time she opens her mouth, her credibility gets chipped away, and without credibility for a star witness, the prosecution has lost points by putting her on the stand.
I don't think so, because when you're prosecuting cases, you're always taught, you take your witnesses as you find them. This is the real world. People come from different backgrounds, educations, ages, socioeconomic statuses, different environments, but that doesn't mean just because they can't articulate, they aren't the best or most well-spoken person, that they're lying automatically.
They didn't have to call her.
Oh, they have to call her.
And they didn't
They had to call her.
And they didn't have to.
She's the best witness they have to say that Zimmerman started it.
Listen, all that they established with her was that Trayvon Martin was on the phone and said, somebody's following me. That's all the prosecution really
and
got
then
out
said
of
to
this
Zimmerman,
witness.
why are you following me for? And Zimmerman responded.
And then two different answers coming out of her.
But
you know what your witness is like before you put her on the stand. And what I want to know what the prosecution said to her last night that got her to go from being a total disrespectful witness yesterday to the unaffected, almost comatose witness she would say. I want to know what that conversation was.
But let me jump in here, because the crucial issue in this case is, was it self-defense or wasn't it?
Right.
We know that Zimmerman shot and killed Trayvon Martin. We know that he followed Trayvon Martin. One side's going to argue he stopped following him. The other side's going to say he didn't. But what we do know is they met back up again. And somebody threw the first blow. And then they wound up on the grass. And so what has she really added to that, other than they came together again, and Trayvon said, why are you following me, right? And Zimmerman said, what are you doing here? And then they started fighting, because we're going to get more witnesses, Faith, who are going to say, I saw the kid in the hoodie, that's Trayvon, on top of Zimmerman, beating him mixed martial arts style. And then we're going to see grass-stained knees on Trayvon's pants and grass and a wet back of George Zimmerman.
Right, and that's the problem, the built-in advantage for George Zimmerman in this case, and the problem with the state's case. They face that uphill battle because there's only one living eyewitness to their encounter.
And he's the defendant.
And he's the defendant. So, but I just want to say, her testimony is crucial, because George Zimmerman said when he encountered Trayvon, Trayvon said to him, do you have a problem, or what's your problem, or something to that effect, and then sucker punches him in the face. This witness
and said, you're going to die tonight.
While he was beating him. Yeah. This witness is saying it did not happen like that, that George Zimmerman was the one who approached him and Trayvon saying, why are you following me? Her testimony, now we do have phone records that corroborate the fact that she was on the phone with Trayvon at some point during this encounter.
Right.
And remember, George Zimmerman also says to the operator, when he asked him at some point, are you following him? He says, yes.
So we don't need you to do that.
Right.
And he says he obeyed.
But in terms of her testimony is also backed up by what George Zimmerman is saying. If you look at the timestamps of those phone calls, she's on the phone with Trayvon, he's on the phone with the operator. They're both saying
But here's what I don't get. Let's credit all of her testimony. All right.
Okay.
Now, I mean, even the part where she says that she added on the stand, which is she heard Trayvon say, get off,
Okay.
which was new.
Right.
And that's always a red flag.
Right.
Why didn't you say it in all the other times you got asked about this case? All right, but let's credit that. Let's say what she heard was, why are you following me? Zimmerman responds, what are you doing here? And then the next thing she hears is a struggle, and she hears Trayvon saying, get off, get off. Does that answer anything about whether this was self-defense?
I think if it went down like that and the jury gives her full credit for that testimony, then in that case, it does help the prosecution a little bit. It's not the be-all, end-all. It doesn't prove the case, but
does it
helps
prove
them a little
second-degree murder? Because let me ask you, because one of the things that's been bothering me about this case from the beginning is we know that Zimmerman followed Trayvon.
Yes.
Right.
We know I mean, however you think this case should come out, he's on trial today because of his own actions, because he started to follow Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin didn't ask to be followed. He wasn't doing anything wrong. Right. He followed him wrongly because the kid wasn't doing anything wrong.
Right.
Then a confrontation ensued. We don't know who started it.
Right.
But can this jury convict George Zimmerman of second-degree murder because he chose to follow this kid? He created a situation in which Trayvon Martin was scared. And whether Trayvon Martin threw the first punch or not, it was Zimmerman who actually scared Trayvon. It wasn't the other way around until Trayvon started punching back, or started punching in the first instance.
If the jury does that math, then they will convict George Zimmerman of second-degree murder. If they do the math that you just laid out, then George Zimmerman is going to jail.
Like you started it.
You started it. You should have stayed in your car. And if you hadn't done that, nothing else would have ensued. This kid would have gone home. You would have gone home, and that would have been the end of that.